All right, on this episode of the LPDS, we get into some LPDS universe updates and we get into some important current events going on in the world that everybody should know about. And of course, we have a cage fact for everybody. Should be a good time. All that's coming up right now. All right, Jabronis, we're back. Welcome back to the Libretti Podcast Diary Show. I'm your host, Libretti. A show that talks about nothing but tries to find the lessons in everything, and we have a good time doing it. Hope everybody had a good week. Mine's been pretty good. Very busy internally, but good and productive. That's just been how the weeks have been going for me lately for a little while now, and it's because of Spearhead. And it's not a bad thing. I'm not complaining about that. I'm choosing to do that, but it's essentially I'm working almost two full-time jobs to make this work. Just only getting paid for one right now, really. And I'm doing a lot of work for Spearhead, but it's not translating to a lot of progress for the business. And a lot of that is done by intention. That's intentional doing. I umbrella it all under work for Spearhead, for the business, doing stuff for the business. But there's a lot of it that goes into it behind the scenes that is really for me to get me better at things so that in turn that will be beneficial to me in the future with the business, with Spearhead and my own future. And that's something that at first it took me a little bit to figure that part out. So that sort of quote unquote slowed down the progress and growth of the business when I first started out. And then that process itself takes a while because you're not changing yourself overnight. You're not changing your habits and your mindset overnight. At least I'm not. I don't want to speak for everybody. I'm sure there's a couple of super high functioning, hard charging, high octane kind of guys out there, guys and gals out there. Maybe some people who listen to the LPDS who were sitting back thinking, "Well, I could do it overnight," and you probably could, and good for you. You should do it then. I can't. The stuff I'm working on for myself takes time. And it doesn't just take time because it's difficult stuff that you have to change habits. It's because I learn best through building a repetitive, actionable routine and taking each thing down in digestible chunks, if you will, which slows the process down naturally. And I'm okay with that because now I'm going to be able to improve the way I need to most effectively and see that improvement, long term. And that's what I'm looking for. So on the outside, I'm sure there's haters out there or just people who come across, maybe my Instagram or my pages or whatever, or even the LPDS, and they hear me constantly talking about, "Oh, I'm working on Spearhead, I'm doing this," and they're like, "Well, what do you have to show for it? There's nothing going on. You're not this." You don't have 500,000 followers on Instagram. You don't have all these videos of you flying helicopters and private jets and being rich and quitting your day job and all this other stuff. Yeah, sure. Got it. You're absolutely right. I don't have any of that. I have what I need to succeed, though. And I'm making the progress that is best for me to keep this thing a success in the long run. And I don't mind that the initial progress and growth has been slow in that regard, according to the outside world, the Instagram world, social media world, because you see this all the time. You see people just showing up successful. And there's a lot of them who are frauds and are just faking it to make it look like they're successful, and they're really just fakes. They're renting out mansions to take videos and renting out cars for photo ops and stuff, and they're frauds. And there's a few of them who, yeah, they strike lightning in a bottle or whatever that saying is, and they happen to figure it out quicker than others, and that's awesome. And I'm happy for those people. And then there's a lot of us who are in the slow grind, if you will. And of that slow grind group, there's a small percentage of people who make it because people quit. People quit. It takes a long time and it's a lot of work. And you never realize how much work it is to improve yourself internally until you're actually in the heart of it. And you're doing it and you're like, shit, this is going to take so long. And myself included. And then most people are just like, forget it. I gave it a nice try. I can at least tell my kids I tried to start a business or I tried to do this and work for myself and this and that and improve myself, but it's tough. But I'm not here to do those mental gymnastics. It's tough for me. Okay, and I realize it. I realize it with everything I do. Everything is always ends up being harder than I initially think it's going to be. But the one thing I will brag about myself about, at least on this episode, is that I've always eventually succeeded in that stuff. Always. No matter what I did, I get my shit pushed in initially, and then I just get back after it until the job is done, until whatever my goal is accomplished. So I'm not worried about it too much in that regard. I would like the progress to happen faster because obviously I don't want to keep doing 9 to 5 work anymore for somebody else. And I want to have control over my own life in that regard. And there are things now that sort of stress me out that shouldn't stress me out. And I'm starting to realize that I'm starting to get better. I'm trying to get better at that. But little things like right now, my brain is so laser focused on the things I have to do for my mindset work, improving my discipline, changing the habits I need to change, and then working on specific business stuff like getting better at cold calling, getting better at sales calls, getting better at prospecting, getting better at marketing and content for the business and doing all this stuff. My brain is laser focused on that. So in my head, I'm like, well, I have to dedicate all my extra time and energy to that so that I can get to where I need to go without any additional slowdowns or hurdles. And then I'll be able to have the time and the freedom and the weight off my shoulders to go do the stuff I want to do. But I also, because of that, I'm missing out on stuff. Like I want, friends and family are always saying, oh, we want to come visit, come hang out, this and that. And my first reaction is always, well, now I got to clean the house. And then I have to entertain and I got to get the dog figured out. And that's at least a couple of days right there that's dedicated to that and slowing my progress down to get where I need to go to the point where I can have anybody over at any time. The house will be ready. I can hire people to come fix the house for me, buy new furniture, all this other stuff. I need to get out of that mindset. Okay? Because family and friends are important to me. And it's like one of the reasons I'm doing this is for that. So I can spend more time with them. So I got to see, like, when the opportunity arises to spend time with friends or family, whether it's at the house or with them, like, yeah, that's what it's for me. That's what I enjoy doing the most. So why would I say no to that and make excuses of slowing the business down? I need to understand I'm going to be fine with the business. And most of you know me. I'm gonna make it. We're gonna figure this shit out. So if there's a weekend where I'm not doing specific stuff for myself and business and advancement, and I spend it with friends and family, that's fine. Like that's not gonna kill the progress. I gotta relax with that. So long story short, it's been another busy week, and I always got a lot on my mind. And thank you for letting me vent about it a little bit. That being said, one of the things I've been talking about for a while now is the Spearhead sort of podcast leadership kind of show thing I wanted to do or want to do still, the Libretti Leadership Lab. And I've been going back and forth on the format, how I want to do it. Do I want to make it like long form, like an hour long stuff, maybe bring out some guests, or do I want to do it like shorter, 20, 15, 20 minute sound bites on leadership skills and then bring in some stories of my time in the military or examples of me in those situations where I needed that skill or what, stuff like that. And another big reason why I haven't started it yet is because I'm still, like I said, I'm still working through improvement of my discipline, good habit creation, time maximization in my day, and being more productive. And while I'm working through that, I don't I don't want to start something and then not be able to keep it consistent. I kind of got lucky here with the LPDS because we started that during COVID. And even though I was still working, I wasn't really that busy. I was able to obviously I didn't start this business. I wasn't working, for myself really yet. I was just I had the time. I didn't have a lot of extra things to do with my life at that point, and it was easy to keep this thing regular. And then it became part of my routine, my life's routine, and now it's just automatic. I don't even think about it. Well, what I do think about is like, oh, I got to come up with a sponsor and make sure I record sometime in time to edit and post it for Sundays. And then sometimes it gets a little bit of a hassle if I'm traveling or if I'm doing something over the weekend. It's like, oh, I got to get it done earlier so I could go do this and this. But it's part of it's like brushing your teeth or eating or anything that else that you like have to do in your life. It's like, oh, I might not be able to get it done right now. Every Friday I record or every Saturday morning I record, but I know it will be worked into my schedule and recorded and posted for Sundays. I'll figure it out. I'm obviously not there with the Libretti Leadership Lab, so I want to set myself up for success for that. So I'm still trying to come up with the best schedule and format to do that. Right now is not the time because I am wildly busy during my days with my new marketing, like kind of push and campaign and focus items that I'm working on for client outreach or prospect outreach and stuff like that. So my time is spent there, and I'm also a big time overthinker. So I'm probably doing a lot of overthinking about this too. So I gotta kind of take it out of my brain for a little bit and shelf it and not think too much about it because then I get to the point where I'm thinking so much that it never happens. So I got to focus in on the branding and marketing and getting clients right now, and then we'll figure out where to place the Libretti Leadership Lab and how to place it. A friend mentioned, oh, maybe you should make it a segment of the LPDS. That way, you're gonna record every week with LPDS. You might as well add the segment. That's not a bad idea. I got to figure out, there's some logistical pros and cons there. Like I don't want to be doing the triple L in my tank top. I want to, so I'm going to have to take time to change wardrobes, change sort of atmospheres a little bit. And then I also want to put it separately on its own. So I'll have to do an extra editing and cutting to get the clip of itself to be standalone, so I could put it on the Spearhead YouTube and the Spearhead Spotify and Apple as well. Because I want that audience. I want a different audience to also come into that. And fortunately, unfortunately, the LPDS audience worldwide is steady. So unless become a genius on search engine optimization and getting the word out there that there's a leadership segment of the LPDS, I don't know if it's going to reach the intended audience, which is not necessarily everybody in the LPDS. And I don't think the LPDS, you guys necessarily want to hear that anyway. And I'm not saying like this is above you or anything. No, it's just like if you like baseball but you don't like soccer. It doesn't mean you're better or worse. It's just I don't want to listen to soccer stuff. I want to listen to baseball stuff, or I want to watch baseball games, not soccer matches. It's the same thing. I want to watch the LPDS. I don't want to listen to leadership stuff. Got it. So I got to figure all that out and to try to make it work. But if you guys have any opinions of your own, feedback, suggestions, advice, recommendations, let me know. You can DM me. You can text me. You can hit the hotline 202-670-1114, and we'll figure this out together. It will happen. So I'm not too worried about that. But right now, my immediate focus items are in a different spot right now, and they need to be. So anyway, that's all I got to say about that. That's the Libretti and the Spearhead updates for you guys. Now, moving on very quickly to what I would say are ends of eras, if you will, in the world of America and in American history and lore. Microsoft just announced that it'd be shutting down Skype altogether by like May 5th, Randy's birthday, Cinco de Randy of this year. Now, it doesn't seem like a big deal because nobody uses Skype anymore. So they're just gonna shift over to Teams. Microsoft is just putting all like, hey, you want to do calls, face-to-face calls? Just go on Microsoft Teams. We have Teams, and I don't know if Teams was their answer for flubbing Skype. I don't know why YouTube just gave me fireworks. I don't know what I did with my hands to make fireworks. So there you go. If you're watching it on YouTube land, you just got fireworks video, but. I don't know if they created Teams to purposely replace Skype or as a response to Skype's downfall. I don't know if that's the case. In my mind, I thought they should have just added to Skype and improved it to turn it into like a Microsoft Teams style thing. Exactly. Just add the stuff that you have in Teams and put it on Skype. You already had Skype. But I guess maybe the reputation of Skype fell so far down that they're like, we got to do something complete. Like, we got to get the Skype stink off of our stuff, and we're just going to create Skype plus other stuff and make it and call it Microsoft Teams. Maybe that's what they did. But for all those who are probably my age and even older, Skype was video phone call. Skype was FaceTime. That was what you did. That was the first and biggest platform to have video phone calls with somebody. And it was, I forgot who owned it first. Then they sold it to eBay, and then eBay sold it to Microsoft, and now Microsoft's shutting it down. But in the beginning, as the internet evolved and webcams started becoming a thing and all this other stuff, Skype was it. For normal users, I'm sure the techies of the world, they probably had different platforms that they use, just like most, a lot of the cyber geniuses out there, the cyber geeks use Linux instead of Windows or Macs when they're doing their coding, and their operating system is Linux because it's a better platform, especially for what they're doing. You have more control and they're smarter, so they're able to do a lot more stuff with it. But for the general users, which is another reason why Microsoft got so big, it was built for jabronis. It was idiot-proof computing. Graphic user interfaces made it easy for anybody with a heartbeat to be able to use a computer and use programs on a computer. MacBook is also like that now, or Apple, I should say. But the computer guys, the hardcore computer geniuses, they're using Linux. They were using command line. They're behind the scenes. They're not clicking buttons to get where they need. They're typing it in and controlling the matrix themselves. So they probably used something else other than Skype, and that was better, but it was not user friendly for jabronis like me, or people going away to college who want to Skype with their parents, talk to their parents face to face, or what we used it for. I say people like my age and my my demographic, deployments. Skype them in. I'll do a Skype session with my family, and we'll talk that way. It was Skype. My mother even bought me a webcam when I got into the Air Force and started moving all over the country. And we taught, and she's like, get this webcam, figure out Skype, and then tell me how to do it so we can talk. And that's what we did. Once a week, we would get on Skype. And then when we were deployed, we'd do it too. Until things advanced. And here's where I think Skype missed a mark. And I don't know if it was because Microsoft was already building Teams out and they didn't care about Skype, or they just blew it. But during COVID, everybody was stuck at home. Everybody home or in a place where they couldn't be physically near their friends and family. And Skype had a golden opportunity to bolster up their bandwidth, their servers, be able to handle that sort of heavy load of usage by users, and they didn't do anything about it. And basically, up until that point, they were still doing okay, even though FaceTime was around. You can't FaceTime people without iPhones. If you have an iPhone and they have an Android, it's tougher to FaceTime. You got to have an app. What was the app? Skype. Now, some of the people at work, use Cisco WebEx. That's pretty secure and good for like military and government kind of official stuff. So that was always there. But Skype was still there. And then COVID hits, and it was like, we're living in a Skype world, and Skype missed the memo. And like I said, I don't know if they did that on purpose, or maybe because Bill Gates was too busy working on his little vaccines and buying up all the farmland in the country. And he's like, I don't care about that. I'm trying to kill everybody's grandma in New York with Cuomo. I don't know what the deal was, but Skype had the opportunity and they lost it. And then Zoom came in, which is what I use now to record this episode, all these episodes. And even though I know Zoom is probably not secure and owned by the Chinese, and that was a big, don't use Zoom, it's owned by the Chinese. I don't know what Zoom's owned by. I have nothing to hide anymore anyway. If they want to come and steal my identity, if they want a John Libretti over in China, have at it. But Zoom came in and was like, hey, don't worry, guys. There's not going to be much buffering. We have the infrastructure surrounding what we do to make sure we can handle the workload of all these people trying to talk to their loved ones who can't go physically see them right now. We got you. And what happened to Skype? I haven't used Skype since. I haven't used Skype in over 5 years now. And it's almost solely because they were unusable during COVID and when people needed it most. unusable. Buffering, calls cutting out, couldn't hear anybody, couldn't see anything, unusable. And then Zoom took over. And there's other things out there. There's River, is it not River Dance? I forgot what it's called. Something River something is another quality Zoom like face-to-face call kind of technology. That's actually probably better for Zoom style interviews because they have a little bit better technology that prevents delays and silences and talking over each other. But it's also expensive, and I don't, Zoom is much cheaper than that, so I don't need to, I haven't used it. But there are other stuff out there, but Skype is no longer one of them. And now Microsoft is like, well, we have Teams. It does face-to-face videos. It does recording. It does transcripts, and it's got chat. It's got areas you can load your files up, and it's not bad. There's a lot of issues with it on the side, which is basically all Microsoft programs these days. Is like, generally speaking, I get the idea and it's helpful and beneficial, but they also definitely just packed on a whole bunch of shit together and just threw it out there and were like, we'll figure it out when we figure it out. And now they announced Skype's going away. Skype's gone. May 2025, end of an era, Skype out of here. And like I said, I'm sure a lot of people don't care. A lot of people younger who really hit their video FaceTiming age after COVID probably don't even know what Skype is. But Skype paved the way for Zoom and FaceTime and Riverwalk or whatever it's called and all the other ones. It was Skype. And now it's gone. So rest in power to Skype. And then not so much official complete rest in power just yet. But in other sad news, Hooters is filed for bankruptcy and is starting to close down restaurants. It hasn't said it's closing everything down altogether. Don't forget Red Lobster filed for bankruptcy and they're still open. A lot of, some of their locations are still open. So we don't know the ultimate future for Hooters, but it's clearly not going where they wanted or where we wanted it. It's definitely on the downhill turn, and they're filing bankruptcy. They used to have a hotel in Vegas and an airline that you can fly, Hooters Air. And now they're filing for bankruptcy and closing down their less popular locations, which is, again, crazy. It's like Skype. It went from everything to nothing. And I'm not going to lie. Hooters food is take it or leave it. I couldn't care less either way about the food. But there's always a special place in every young man's heart, especially my age, for Hooters. Like you go there when you're 12 or 13, or just after your bar mitzvah, when you became a man, and you go to Hooters and they give you all the bells and whistles. They sign a shirt for you. They do dances. They flirt with you. They make you sound like they make you think you're a big, strong man, a little handsome man. And you have some okay wings at best. Some restaurants were better than others, but okay at best. You get some ice cream on your birthday. You see some cleavage. You look at some butts. And you have and that's it, And when you have that experience as a kid, as a new man, that stays with you. That stays with you. You don't care about the food. You care about there's hot babes that seem to like me for whatever reason. Even though I have braces still, I have a weird hairdo with a widow's peak. My schnoz is big. My gums are all swollen from the braces. I have a tiny pee-pee. I can't even legally use it because I'm still really just a kid, but I pretended to be a man, and they pretended I was a man too, and you didn't know what was going on, and you just loved it. It was just a great experience. And I remember my first time, my friend Sean and his parents took us to Hooters. I was in middle school. It was Hooters in near the Willowbrook Mall. Or I guess the technically like the Wayne Town Center Mall, whatever it's called. It was an offshoot of the Willowbrook Mall. And we went to the Hooters there. That was the first Hooters I've ever been to. Got some wings, curly fries, couple of Coca-Colas, classics, of course. And they came out in their tight shirts and shorts, looking at me like I wasn't a grotesque, ghoulish-looking creature that I really was in middle school, as all boys usually are. Most kids usually are. And I got my shirt signed. I got a calendar. And I was in heaven. I was lifting the table up with the tent I was pitching. It was awesome. And it stayed awesome for a long time for me. I went to Hooters my freshman year of college. I used to go to Hooters weekly. I could walk to it. It was right across the street from my dorm. And I got the calendar of old basketball that all the gals signed for me. I was in college. I thought it was who the hell I was. Like, these girls actually like me. No, they didn't. You stupid bastard. And every once in a while, I would talk one of the waitresses into getting me some free ice cream for dessert. And it wasn't free because I just bought a $55 calendar for all these babes to sign. And they're like, oh, we'll toss in a $2 ice cream sundae for him and make him think he got it for free. And I did. I thought I got it for free. I thought, hey, don't worry. I'll talk to the gals. They know me. I could get us some free ice cream, fellas. I would even go there for healthy food. I would get the Cobb salad sometimes. Be like, oh, I got to watch what I'm eating, so I'll just go Cobb salad and look at your boobs. It's a mainstay. And the whole time, like, well, I'm not going for the food. I'm going for feeling like something like a desirable piece of man meat for a little bit. And then somewhere along the lines, the tables turned for Hooters. I don't know. I imagine the lack of quality food didn't help at all, for sure. And I also imagine it probably became very much like a strip club where the clientele, the demographic of people going to Hooters it wasn't families anymore. The first time I went with my friend and his family, and we had a good time. And there was other families there. It was fun. I don't know why it was family friendly. It shouldn't have been, but it was. It was great. But the demographic shifted for sure to, it's like you walk into a Hooters, and if it's not empty, it's these degenerate men, absolute degenerates. They're old, they're slovenly, they're drunk, they hate their wives if they're married, they're not married, they're incels, and they're going thinking that they can just do whatever they want like it's the 80s and treat these women like objects, and that the women are going to buy into it and make them feel like, the kings of the castle, and they weren't having it anymore. The waitresses were not having it anymore. You go into a Hooters and you do something inappropriate like that, they'll let you know, which they should have been the whole time, and I'm happy they're doing it. But that's what you get now. I always, in my head, every time I drive past the Hooters, like, oh, I got to stop by. I'll go stop in a Hooters. But when I walk in and I see the crowd there, I don't want to be associated with that crowd. I don't want any, and this is probably an insecurity on my part, which is whatever. But when I walk in, I don't want the Hooters wait staff to look at me like, oh, he's one of them. and then I have to spend my time convincing them that I'm not one of them, and which is what they're doing at each table. Don't worry, I'm not like these other guys. I'm gonna slowly drink my pitcher of beer. Like, it's tough because I want to go hang out there still. I love the atmosphere. You can watch sports. The people, the workers were friendly. The employees were friendly. Um, and also, I don't think I have a lot of friends who want to go with me. Again, because of the crowd. They're like, I don't want to go with a bunch of old men, old, disrespectful, drunk, fat shit men. I don't mind old men like veterans, old vets. I'll go hang out with them, but they're not hanging out at Hooters. They're at the VFWs or the Asian massage parlors. Some of those Vietnam guys. They're not at Hooters anymore. So I wish there was something I could do to help Hooters. I wish there was something we could do to change the reputation and the environment, the culture there, to get the demographic out, to improve the cuisine a little bit, the quality of the wings and stuff, and to get the people to get the women needed to work at the Hooters. That's another thing. The less popular it becomes, the less uh, bodacious women want to work there. So you start getting lower in quality of that too. And then people don't want to go see second stringers, if you will, when they're being disrespectful and gawking at women. So like it's a whole vicious cycle because of the business was built on come look at hot women and they'll serve you food and beer. So I get why it turned into that. It's a shame, but we got to figure out the way to fix this before it's too late. But anyway, sort of the end of an era is looming for Hooters as they file bankruptcy, and it's a sad day. It's also sad to admit or to realize. Well, I don't know why do I have such a connection to Hooters? Like, what did I do when I was younger? I mean, that first visit to Hooters in Wayne changed my life. Maybe not for the better. We'll see. But anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Now we'll get into the good stuff, and we'll step into the cage.
Okay, let's run.
All right. Today's Into the Cage segment is proudly sponsored by Rip Off Energy Drink. Are you a GWOT combat veteran suffering from war pain and longing for the days where you were in the suck with the boys, sliding down a Marlboro Red and a Rip It energy drink right before your mission to take out the trash? But now you're back in the States and can't get any of that sweet nectar anymore? Well, now you can. That's not right. Now you can get as close to that euphoria as ever with the all-new Rip-Off Energy Drink by Tony Riggs. Tony memorized the formula of the original Rip-Its, added a few unsanctioned secret ingredients, and created an alternative beverage that takes you right back to the evening strolls overlooking the Hindu Kush Mountains in your night vision goggles, ready to waterboard that 12-year-old future enemy of the state for everything he knows about the location of Taliban courier Muhammad Ahmed. So to crack open a fresh can of flashbacks today, visit aisle 29 of your local Dollar Tree and pick up a case of rip-offs today. And if you use the promo code WMDs at checkout, you get 29% off your first case. That one's not for everybody. That one's not for everyone. That is for the people who understand the Rip-Its energy drinks. And I'll give you a quick synopsis of that. Rip-Its are an energy drink that we got when we were deployed, doing war stuff, Iraq, Afghanistan, wherever. Anytime you went overseas, they had Rip-Its. I don't know why they don't. Maybe it's because it's like not an American company. I don't know. I don't know why they don't sell them like at regular stores down here in the States. But Rip-Its was your detachment, your shop wherever you were, had stacks of them. And then you go to the chow hall, and they had them in the fridge. They had the crates of them, and you just grab Rippets. That's all. That's what you did. Rippets. That was the energy drink of choice. We would do a little thing sometimes where we would mix in Rippets into a half a bottle of a Gatorade, and then we would throw in what the hell else would we throw in? It was some yellow Gatorade, Rip It, and then it was like maybe like a packet of like Crystal Light, like powdered lemonade or some crap, and we shake it up in there, and then we would be off on our mission, just ready to rock and roll. And if you didn't experience that firsthand, you don't have no idea what Rippets are. But let me tell you something. Taking a Rip It, crushing. They came in small cans too, like 6 ounces. I think they were almost 6 or 8 ounces, tiny little cans, and you just fire them back. You would rip a pre-mission ciggy, and I don't mind saying it. I know people out there are going to be listening to be like, "Oh my God, you smoke cigarettes?" Yeah, when I was in war and my dorm was 55 feet away from an entire dorm filled with with locals who several of them turned out to be enemies in hiding that they had to take out. Yeah, I'm ripping heaters. I'm doing whatever I can to get my mind and body right for battle. So I'd be ripping a heater whenever I could get my hands on a Newport, a Lucky Strike, a Marb Red, Camel Crush, Camel Turkish and domestic blend unfiltered, whatever it was, whatever we could get our hands on, whatever pack we can. It was almost like we were in prison. Just give me Lucy's. I'll take Lucy's all day, whatever you got. And you just take that hit. And that's when the nicotine and the chemicals start surging through your bloodstream, and you start hearing Creedence Clearwater Revival playing in the background. Fortunate Son is playing in your head now, as if you're at the concert live. And then you slide down before you don't even exhale your heater. You just start sucking down that Rip It. And then you take a deep exhale out. It's a deep in with the rip. You smoke that cig in one inhale. The whole thing is gone. Bang! You flick that out into the desert. You slide down that Rip It. You exhale, and then your pupils start to dilate and undilate real quick, in and out, and you get into the zone. You get the tinglies in your body. You're all kitted up. You got your gear on. You're strapped to the gills, and you got nothing else to live for than to go out and take out the trash. And then when I did the aerial missions, I would put my tin of cheese, mostly Copenhagen, but if they ran out, I would take whatever they had. And I would put the tin on the windowsill next to my seat, because the windowsill, they had a little bit of like a space between the insulated wall and then the actual window itself. So you put on the windowsill and it'll get cold, ice cold, and it would chill that cheese. And I would, while we were en route to whatever we were doing, I would eat my wings, chicken wings or omelet I got from the chow hall and the styrofoam. I'd chow down on that. I'd have a couple of Girl Scout cookies, those little powdered lemon ones that they don't sell anymore. I forgot what they were called, lemon delights or something like that. And I would enter the cheese window after I finished my meal. Maybe I'll have a nice piece of chocolate, like a Reese's. I would also put on the windowsill a nice cold Reese's. and then I would throw that fat hammer of cheese in that Copenhagen, wintergreen, mint, whatever they had. Like I said, whatever we could get our hands on, it was good by me. And I would throw that fat, ice cold hammer in just as we were getting over the operating zone. And let me tell you, folks, that's that might be that might be the closest I'll ever feel to heaven ever in my life. And that's probably not the best thing to admit. I get it. But when you're in that zone, when you're pupilled up, your pupils and just going up, dilated, undilated, just focus, unfocus, like tinglies everywhere. Heaters still in your system somewhere with that ripid, which is basically just chemicals and carbonation. And then you throw in your combat cheese. Man, there was nothing better. There was no better feeling to do what we needed to do when we, out there. You can't do that here. I get that. You really shouldn't do that here. You shouldn't get in that frame of mind and that physical, emotional, mental state to answer emails and get on Teams calls, not Skype, Teams calls. I don't recommend that. But for what you're doing over there, taking out the trash and helping the big dogs take out the trash, there's no other state of mind. There's no other place you want to be physically, mentally, emotionally than that zone, that war zone, if you will. It. Whew, I got the tinglies just thinking about it. Anyway, I don't like to talk about my time over there for a number of reasons, mainly because it's tough to explain because, a lot of stuff I did was, you can't talk about it anyway. It's classified. That's the word I'm thinking of. I was not a cool guy. But all I say is this: I was not the cool guy going out there killing Bin Laden and all that stuff that you see the SEALs and the Green Berets. Not so much Green Berets anymore, but the Rangers, all those guys on the ground doing that. I wasn't doing anything like that, but I don't like to broadcast exactly what I was doing and my time there. I'll share some stories with people. Most of the time, I'm sharing. We're just sharing memories with the people you were out there with. And then there's those things that you're taking to the grave. But that Rip It story, I don't mind sharing to everybody. That was fun times. And for the people who were there with me or who might be listening to this, Steve McStiff is one of them. He gets it. Our other friend Pony Boy, he gets it. Some other folks out there you get it. Sounds crazy. I know that sounds like you listen to somebody talking about that, doing that, and getting that like happy about it. Thinking about that memory. It's like, this guy needs to be committed, and I don't doubt it. Like I don't disagree. But those guys get it. They get it. Anyway, that's the ad read for the week. The Cage Fact is very quick, folks, and maybe that's why I went off on that tangent, because I knew the Cage Fact is really just an update for you guys. Nic Cage's trailer for the movie The Surfer came out last week, and we've discussed The Surfer a couple times already. The storyline is he's going back to this area in Australia where he kind of grew up to go do some surfing with his son, and these new bloods live there now, and they're like really serious about surfing, and their turf, surf and turf, their surf and turf, and the storyline kind of sounds stupid. It's like, oh, if you don't live here, you can't surf here, mate. And it's like, all right, dude. Like in real life, it's like, shut up, dude. It's surfing. All right, it's fucking surfing. Relax. But the movie is Nic Cage is like, no, like I'm moving back here. This is where I grew up. I was surfing before you even born, you stupid bastards. So he goes back to try to take back his territory. Um, and the trailer's good. Like the trailer looks like you're gonna get unhinged Cage at one point because they're gonna push him to the breaking point, and that's what I'm waiting for. I'm waiting for the unhinged, the explosion of Cage. I don't know how good the movie's gonna be. I don't recognize any other actors in it. I think most of them are Australian. They might be well known in Australia. I don't know. The movie might not be great. I don't know. But I know the Cage explosion, the Nic Cage that we want for, the unhinged Cage that we wait for, that's coming. That's going to be in that movie for sure. And that's what I want to see. So I'm excited to see that. Go check out the trailer. Let me know what you think of it. If you think the movie's going to be good, if you think the Cage outburst is going to be good, those are two separate things. They could both be true in the same movie. We've seen it basically every movie Cage did in the mid 2000s was movie not so great, Nic Cage awesome. So that could be what we have here in The Surfer, but check out the trailer. If I remember, I'll post a link in the top right of the screen on YouTube for you to watch the trailer there. And let me know what you think of that. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited for the Nic Cage aspect of it. We'll see how the movie ends up. Couldn't care less, honestly. I'm sure it'll be fine for me. Anyway, that's the Cage fact. That's the Cage update for you guys. So moving on over to the Junction. Spin the logo up. I don't have much going on in the Junction, really. I went to the dentist last week. And I don't mind the dentist. It's not like I avoid the dentist like the plague. This is the first time in 10 years. Now, it's been about, I don't know, a year and a half, maybe 2 years since I've been to the dentist, which is longer than usual because the military, it's usually every year. 6 months, it's every year. You got to go your annual dental exam or whatever. This one was a little bit longer because I was on my own and I didn't care as much. But I knew I had to go. Because I like to get cleanings. I like to make sure everything is good to go. Plus, I always like to get checked. I like to get my tooth checked out, my front tooth. Now, if you don't know, you can't see. Obviously, you can't see in YouTube land. I'm not going to walk right up to the camera to show you. But one of my front teeth, I don't remember if I ever told this story. Half of it was broken off and knocked out back in 2008. On the baseball field at Embry-Riddle. Now, it was a combination of things. One, we didn't have a new field at the time, or we didn't have an updated infield, and the dirt of the field was bone dry, like it was like almost like concrete. It was you couldn't even dig your cleats into it, your metal cleats into it. It was dangerous. And the other half of that piece, really the other 90% of that piece, is that I just wasn't good enough at baseball then. It was my first year walking onto the team. I hadn't played competitive baseball really in about 2 years. So I was not, I wasn't good enough. Now, the ball, it was a ground ball it was infield fungos. It was infield drills. Ground ball to my left side, glove side. I was playing third base in practice to do the drills. Glove side, I ran to the left to go grab it, and the ball hit the dirt and then took a turn towards me. So it changed directions towards me, and I'm running towards it now. And I couldn't get my glove, obviously, in front of it fast enough, and it clocked me right in the front tooth, and it broke it off in half. So I had half a tooth. Not like I didn't take the root out, cracked it in half. And I spent, I don't know, like 2 days, 1 or 2 days without that tooth, like half a tooth going to class and looking like a jabroni. And then I got this thing like capped. I don't know, I forgot what it's called. It's not a crown, but it was like a cap where they just create a fake half tooth and basically would glue it onto the remaining tooth. And they're like, well, eventually it's going to become a problem. The nerve is going to be problematic. You're going to have to get it taken care of. You're going to have to get a root canal. And that was back in '08. And now we're here in 2025 and I'm at the dentist. So I always like to get that checked. That was the point of that story. I always like to get it checked to see like when is the root canal going to come. Well, a few days prior to my visit, I started getting some discomfort and pain in the middle of my tooth, like where the fake and the real are glued together. And I was like, oh, this is what's going on. So I better schedule my appointment sooner rather than later. Now, the real reason why I wasn't scheduling a dentist appointment is the same reason why I don't like to host friends and family at my house, because I had to spend time cleaning the house and making it look ready for guests, and doing all of a sudden it slows my progress with Spearhead and work. And my stupid brain was like, schedule the dentist appointment when you have time. You got to go, 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 go. And obviously that's not the right mindset to have, so I'm changing that. But so I said I had to schedule it now. I get in there, so I go in there, I get my cleaning. Really nice place, by the way. I honestly might have to change, because it's just all the employees, dental hygienists to the front office workers, are all just like all really attractive married women. And I don't like that, because I want to flirt with all of them, and that's not appropriate to do. But I'll figure something out, because the dentists are great there. So they cleaned me up. They checked out my stuff, see if I had cavities and stuff. And then they're like, yeah, the nerve, it's time. We got to do a root canal, and we got to take care of this finally. And I was like, okay, well, what do you got to do? Just put a new half a tooth on there? What are we doing with a root canal? Like, nope, we gotta take that nerve out, fella. We're gonna rip that damn nerve out, and then we're gonna prep the battle space for a full fake tooth. And then we're gonna put the fake tooth in. And we're gonna try to match it up as best we can with the color of your teeth and this and that. And you'll be good to go. I was like, okay, so this is all. I was like, how long does this take? They're like, well, the first session where we pull the nerve and then prep the battle space, it's a couple hours. And then 2 weeks from now, you'll come back and we'll get the tooth from the lab after they craft the tooth, the fake tooth, and we'll put the fake tooth in. I was like, listen, I am not an attractive man per se compared to like Thor or Fabio even. But I also have to get on camera for the people of the LPDS universe and for my business. I can't go 2 weeks without a front tooth. And they're like, don't worry, we're going to give you one of those removable ones like the hockey players have, where you pop it in. Why does my camera keep doing that? Shut up. Where you pop the tooth in and you can remove it almost like a mouth guard with a fake tooth in there. You'll get to do that. So that's going to be a little weird, because I have to get used to talking with something like that in my mouth. So I'm going to have to do a lot of talking off camera to practice that, so that when I get on camera, there's no like lisp, or the mouth guard is not falling out of my mouth like loose dentures or anything like that. But then I'll get the fake tooth put in permanently, and there'll be no more pain and no more issues. The one question I have, and this is really, I guess, to get your advice on it too, is the one attractive married woman at the front desk said, hey, listen, just to let you know, whenever they pick a color for your fake tooth, the shade of white, that's the shade of white forever. So even if you come back later and you get whitening done, that's going to stay the same shade. It's not going to whiten up with the rest of your teeth. That's it. And it'll be yellow when your other teeth are more white. So just something to keep in mind if you want to schedule a whitening before your root canal, or if you want to wait. Like, we got to figure this out. So I was like, listen, I'm going to schedule the root canal for a week and a half from now, whatever. But should I? I never got whitening before. I never even thought about it. My teeth are not yellow, but they're not pearly white. So I wanted to get your take on it. If anybody's done whitening before, I basically have three options with the whitening. There are two options I could get done at the dentist. Now, I know that they're putting these options out there because they try to sell something. This is what they were doing, their sales pitch. I get it. But they offer their whitening. One has they do this thing in-house with a light and this and that, and they get it done in one session. And then they have this other option where they make a mold, and you put the mold in at home for a couple days, like up to 10 days in a row with the gel in it to get it whitened. Or I could go buy the strips at like a CVS, the whitening strips that way, and try that for the next week and see if that helps or not. My question to the LPDS is, A, has anybody ever done any of those before? Any teeth whitening of any kind? And if so, did any of them work? Was it worth it? Was it beneficial? This and that? Or should I just continue to not give a shit about it? Like, I understand that they were sneaking that piece in there as a sales pitch, like, oh, hey, just to let you know, it's always going to be whatever. But they snuck the little bug in my head now. So I'm thinking about it. I'm not thinking too much about it though. But I'd like to get your take on it. So maybe I'll put a question out on Instagram, or you guys can DM me or hit the hotline 202-670-1114 and let me know what you think about whitening and unwhitening. I'm more worried about the 2 weeks or the week and a half or however long it's going to be with this damn removable tooth. I don't like that. That's uncomfortable. Having no tooth. I was uncomfortable for like a day with half a tooth. So I'm curious how that's going to go. I don't like that idea. I don't want to be trailer park trash. So, and I'm sure the trailer park listeners of the LPDS are not happy about that comment. So, no offense, guys, but I don't want to be walking around toothless in jorts, drinking, hurricane malt liquor. So, I'm a little bit worried about that, but we'll get that figured out. And that's really all I got to say today, folks. That's it. I'm getting a root canal. I don't know how I feel about the mouth guard. I'm excited to have a functioning fake tooth that I don't have to constantly worry about breaking off when I bite into an apple or anything like that. That was always a worry because I can feel the difference. Still to this day, from 2008 to now, I can still feel the difference when I bite into stuff. Like, oh, I gotta watch out. And they said it's basically like wood glue. Now, if you're familiar with wood glue, I know the Wet Cat probably is, and Family Show Terrence is, and some other folks out there who listen. GDM, if he listens, he knows wood glue. Basically, it's however they make the glue. When you glue two pieces of wood together with this wood glue, it basically makes that bond stronger than just a solid piece of wood together. So if you had a 2x4 and you cut it in half and then you glued it together with quality wood glue and you clamped it appropriately to make sure it was a tight squeeze when it dried, and you gave it the full 24-hour cycle to dry and do its thing, that's bond. That bond is stronger than the solid wood you started with, basically. They do some crazy stuff with the adhesives these days. So this tooth glue that they use to mash this fake and the real tooth together, it's stronger than a regular tooth, but I can still feel the difference. And that's always made me nervous. I cut my apples. I slice them up. I don't eat them at core anymore. Or I use the bottom teeth to chew up, to bite up on an apple instead of biting down. like a weirdo. And that's just because I always felt the difference. You can feel it at the hinge. And I know it's not that weak because it's lasted, you know, 12 years. More than that. 17 years? Yeah, 17 years. It's crazy. So I imagine, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but I imagine the Bone Crusher probably feels something similar to this with his arm. The Bone Crusher broke his what's it called? The humerus bone in the bicep, cranked it and just shattered it on a when he was throwing a pitch, and now he's got vibranium metal plates in there that reconstructed his bone, and this obviously the metal that he's got in there is stronger than any bone that we will ever see. But I bet you he still feels that like, oh, this is not the original. So I feel something different in here. When I'm working out or when I'm doing natural movements, you can feel a difference, and it probably affects mentally like what you want. Like for me, for instance, I can't speak to the Bone Crusher. He's probably mentally tougher than me. I can speak for me though. I can't eat an apple biting down like a normal. I got to eat it biting up like a slack-jawed idiot because I feel it on the way down. I can't bite down. I got to bite up like a psychopath. So I am excited to get the new tooth, the permanent one that they're gonna fasten into my mouth, and not the removable one where I look like Mario Lemieux skating around just toothless and dicking around with his little retainer, his fake tooth retainer. So, but that's all I got to say about that. Before we go, though, very quickly, the big three, the three pillars to staying strong and being a better, happier, kinder, healthier, more genuine human being and spreading that positivity and goodness throughout the land. Number one, exercise every day. Do something every day to improve yourself physically, mentally, or emotionally. Whether it's a full exercise, reading a book, doing a crossword puzzle, breaking that mental sweat, or doing yoga or meditation or praying. Do something every day to improve your fitness physically, mentally, emotionally. Number two, the hardest one to do. Don't be a shitty person. Be a kind person. Get out of the negative. When the opportunity arises to be negative, to post content out there you know is going to strike up division and chaos, or to be shitty to someone, even if you think they deserve it, take the LPDS step back, detach from those negative emotions, and omit yourself from the situation altogether. You do zero good. Okay? You might feel that quick fake dopamine hit if you take a jab at somebody, even if they deserve it, and you're like, got them. But you're not setting a great example for all those around you. You're adding to the negativity and the ether. You just doubled the negativity and shit in that particular situation. And you're not going to really, it's a fake dopamine hit. That's actually not healthy for you. And the same goes for just posting some political opinion or mumbo jumbo. You do no good. Nobody's reading that. There's not one person who is reading that disagrees with you and is like, oh, now I'll change my mind. All you're doing is you're hyping up the people on your team, whatever team you choose to associate with, and you're pissing off the people not on your team. And all that's doing is adding to the division and chaos. And I don't know how many times we have to say and repeat ourselves here. It does zero good. Even if you have good intentions, like, oh, I'll put this out there and people will see the truth and they'll start to change their minds. It's not. It's not. And again, the fake dopamine hits are not good for you. That leads to spiraling into depression and anxiety and stress, and we want to get away from that. But it's very hard to do. I get it. I struggle with it every day. That's why I talk about number two more than all the other ones because it's the toughest one to do. But if you follow number 3, it'll help a little bit. Number 3, the most important one, be genuinely thankful and grateful for all the good you have in your lives. If you shift your focus away from that negative bullcrap, take the time to actively think about at least one thing good in your life each day and what your life would be like without that thing, that will put you in that state of gratitude. You'll feel a lot better. When you're living in gratitude and thankful for that stuff and those people and those experiences, your brain doesn't have the capacity to think about the negative and the bullshit and to take things for granted. And that'll naturally help you omit yourselves from those negative situations and follow number 2. And then it gets bolstered when you exercise every day, because then you get the real dopamine hits, the actual true chemical endorphins of positivity surging through your body. And if you do all those 3 things each and every day, more and more, and consistently do it, I promise you, you'll be a better, happier, kinder, healthier, less stressed, more genuine human being. You'll be able to spread that positivity and goodness to all those around you and throughout the land. Thank you guys again for tuning in. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell your friends and enemies and hit that hotline, 202-670-1114. Missed the hotline calls. Haven't got one in a while. Hit the hotline, 202-670-1114. Thank you guys again. I love you all. Stay strong.